Hello, beautiful people. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor. Thanks for checking me out. If we listen to the silence right now, you're going to hear some cicadas. Very beautiful. And that circles around what I wanted to talk to you today, perhaps a little bit about. What about that ringing? A lot of people in the spiritual community and the world hear that vibrational tone or ringing. So for some people it's always going on, for some people it's not. Some people don't hear it at all. Some people think it's tinnitus, that in the ear, that can be a possibility, that the ear is damaged. So with the higher, let's say, energetic frequencies that prevalent, that people have been seeking out, doctors for this, and it's been flooded with people that are been going to see doctors and complaining of ear ringing. So the ear ringing, what you're hearing is, as I've been understand it, I would say maybe 5%, maybe less, maybe a tenth of a percentage is actually in the audible spectrum. And that is something that you really should think about and meditate. So the other part of that vibrational frequency is beyond the keen of hearing. Now, when back in 2011, I had a breakthrough, if you will, and I ended up hearing that, and I went into, when I was in the church and praying, and that vibrational frequency was around me very heavily. I took it into my being and was pierced by it. And then when that happened, it hurt. It hurt a lot. It hurt my pineal gland, that actual vibration. Once that happened and I agreed to take that vibrational frequency in me, my consciousness was able to be melded with that frequency, which is basically like a consciousness, which is the Om of the universe. That Om is eternal. And when I specifically became pierced by that frequency and became, my consciousness went in that as well, that moment became all moment. And when that happened, it goes through space and time. So after that, that's when you hear, now it's more, louder for other people, is because of that, what happened with me. Now, it took, I would say, about a month from that happening for me to really resonate with that frequency. I have the ability for others, usually, to modulate that frequency for you, to allow it to not bother you so much, so I can turn up and down the volume, if you will, to make it more accessible. This happened to me in 2011, so it's 9 years worth of my thinking about it. I'm not going to share all the information. I could write big, thick volumes of books about it. But I thought now was the time to come out about that in a manner that being open and trying to be a little more transparent. So when you have that frequency, your mind works on a left and right brain centered way. When you have more of that, hear that tone more in your left side more than your right side, that means that you're more towards a left-hand path. What that means is lower, you're more involved with lower vibrational frequencies. So if I, for instance, thought about telling a lie, and really embrace that idea, I could, for instance, feel that vibrational tone on my left side. For me personally, I only hear it now on my right side. So that's how I could steer the ship of my consciousness, is by sailing through the frequencies. Now, there really is no information about what I'm talking about, and people who think they know about it, they don't know about it. What I'm telling you is that my consciousness melded into that vibrational frequency. I have the ability to let others hear that frequency if they clear out the toxins from their body. What I mean to say about that is cleaning out the toxins, the drinking clean, eating heat clean. Also letting yourself go from a sinful nature, letting go of past errors. When people can do that, they'll be able to resonate more at a higher frequency, and then they're more able to hear the tone, which again you're not hearing. Now this is what I'm releasing here, is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more information that I'm saying. I could literally sit down for days and talk about this and write a book about it, which I've thought of doing. It is something that I didn't feel comfortable talking about until now. It's just such a holy experience that I didn't feel comfortable sharing it with people unless they were really close to me, unless they were the right time in their life to hear it. But being that this is such, a negative time, and for a lot of people, they needed some kind of a message, something they, see, something hear. Most people, again, do not hear the tone. It's a vibrational frequency. You hear the cicadas again? That low tone, something like that. Now, there's basically, for some people that enter into the frequency, you'll get 10 levels of the frequency. The first one might be like cymbals, and it goes on, blaring trumpets almost. So it goes through that, and it's like the crystalline nature of the ringing. So when your crystalline DNA matrix, if you will, when that is cleaned out, then you could vibrate with that frequency. In the pineal gland itself, there are now piezoelectrical crystals that are actually embedded in it, and that vibrates with the outside vibration, which is again the Om of the universe. So it's the most holiest tone. It's the tone of all creation. So when I say in my other videos that my consciousness melded into it, what do I actually mean? So as back in 2011, I was at a high vibrational frequency, very high. And then when I was kneeling and praying, I was guided to hear that tone, and when I got it, I brought it into myself and connected it to my brain, and since then I've been very much connected. When I finally got connected that way, my healings went super powerful, for others. And everything, changed a lot. So when there's a silence beyond the silence, and in yoga means to yoke, to unite the lower aspects of the mind, body, and spirit, to the higher aspects. When someone actually achieves it, this is what I'm talking about. So I was able to achieve this in 2011. What I'm interested in doing now is coming out with a series of classes. So meditation classes to guide people through to be able to clear their mind and reach a more enlightened state. That has always been one of my goals, and I'm interested in helping others achieve that higher state of consciousness. So when you reach that higher level, manifestation and all those things that you hear, certainly occur at a higher state. I haven't done a video in a while. I went and got my yoga teacher certification, and it's always funny when I go and I study with other teachers. I was involved too in an ashram where I was studying meditation for a while, and I always was like, oh, I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this, I already know this, I already know this, I already know this. And it's just funny because and I'm looking for that 1% of something that I didn't know. So that's what we struggle for. We're looking for the 1% of things that are, not in our wheelhouse. But what I've found is that it's just another way for me to paint the picture of the information I have with a different color and a different brush. So there's different, teachers out there that have different information, But in essence, it's all what I've always said. It's the same information. Now, some teachers may not have as much colors to paint with on their canvas, but they're all painting, in essence, the same picture. So what I am interested in doing is putting together some courses to help others to get to a level where they feel comfortable with their own spirituality in working through it themselves. You know, so as I thought that people would be more, you know, in my mind, I thought that, well, this happened to me, and it was a pretty, you know, mind-blowing thing. And I thought, well, naturally, everybody's just gonna, everybody's gonna gravitate to me, and they're gonna start listening to me. And you know, certainly everybody's still the same. Everybody has their own same problems. Everybody has their own same things, and you know, it's hard for people to step outside their box and actually look around and say, oh, he said something that's good. Maybe I should listen to him. What I'm trying to get people to do is listen to me a little bit and, you know, come to an understanding of what I'm saying. There's so many spiritual teachers out there that I've found that are, you know, tooting their own horns, and I don't want to sound like I'm coming from, you know, ego, but to get to that point where I got in 2011, I had to do a lot of work. And one of the things that was spurring me on at the time was worried about 2012. You know, so that worrying that the world was going to end pushed me tremendously to develop into my spiritual person back then, so I could sit in front of you now and talk about this. Now we're having the same similar instance with this big C that's going around, where people are more pushed inside themselves to figure things out. And it's a time now for leaders to step forward. So I'm stepping forward within the contextual framework that I'm trying to set up with classes. For instance, let's say meditation, that's one example. Within the meditation framework, I'm trying to build different levels within the classes. And when you achieve the correct, quote-unquote, certification, then you can go out and teach other teachers. And that is part of the system that I'm trying to conceptualize and bring out. So I'm not just looking for followers, I always say. I'm looking for followers that can be leaders. Now, you don't have to go through the whole system that I'm coming up with just for that meditation part, and there's going to be other things that I'm interested in coming out with. You could just stay at level 1 and just learn meditation and take that into your own spiritual practice. If you're interested in getting a teaching certificate, that probably would be a level 2. If you're interested in teaching teachers and issuing your own certificates, that would be like a level 3. And what I just thought about it, because I went through my yoga teacher training, and during it I presented an hour-and-a-half yoga class. When I did the yoga class, my yoga instructor, who was been doing it for 10 years, said, you know what, that was really great. I loved what you said at the beginning, so I'm stealing that. I'm stealing what you did in the middle. I'm stealing what you did at the end. So I joked. I said, yeah, you could take it. Just, you know, send me some money every month. That's all. I accept PayPal. He laughed. But, you know, it just is apparent to me that I have the information, and I'm trying to make it, you know, available. And the mere fact that I'm coming out and saying I thought would be mind-blowing that I could actually send with my being a frequency of sound that you could hear and not hear. I could do that with, with my mind. To me, should be mind-blowing for you, to take in and know that I'm the real deal, that I've been saying this before, but people weren't believing in me or listening to me. So now I'm saying it again, and I'm trying to say it in a clear and concise manner. So that's basically, it. I have a lot of interesting things that I came up with as well. I've been thinking a lot about time space. That's a whole other really book about it's like a multiverse, how time space works, and it's very, very interesting. I think people are ready for it, but I wanted to talk about the ringing. That's very important to me. It's one of the central things now in my life. I could go to bed hearing it, and I wake up hearing it, and it's all the time. I have the ability to not think about it or think about it. And when I achieved that, that allowed me to become silent, real silent in my thoughts, and achieve that enlightenment beyond enlightenment that everybody, talks about. Because when you're able to truly, truly, truly stop your thoughts and just be one with all, that's when you're getting to what I'm talking about. And I'm excited to share this with you and this information. Hopefully you're taking it in the right way. Fear is a limiting factor, and when we fear things, we'll look for things in our environment that resonate with that fear. So there's nothing to fear about this, because as of 2011, it's always been around. So what do I mean by that? I mean that when my consciousness melded with that Om frequency, then that people have been always able to hear the Om who meditate, and it's like a time machine. In the movies, like you go into a time machine and then somebody goes back into the deep past and they make something happen and they come back to the present, and then they get out and they look around like a butterfly effect, and they look around, and now everybody is doing that thing that they did in the past. It kind of works in that idea. Although with a new theory that I have about this, the time-space continuum is not as plastic as we thought. And I could get into more of that next time. But I wanted to share this exciting information with you. You're not crazy if you're hearing the ringing. Probably you don't have tinnitus, and you don't need to see a doctor. And if you need assistance with it, I should be able to help you lower it, although your grasp of it comes from yourself. So you're the one that really can, work within it. But I have been able to change that for other people, that frequency. And again, it's not a noise. So people think I hear a million things. They think it's a download. They think they is it a download? It's creation. So are you hearing angels? That's certainly, you could think of it that way. You could think of it connecting to the higher realms. That creational source that envelopes and permeates everything at the base level. So I put a lot of ideas and thoughts into it. Could it be that that ringing is the same ringing that's coming from a black hole at the center of a universe, and all the stars in creation all vibrating from the beginning of time? That kind of is what I'm talking about. Is it the symphony of angels singing praises to the Lord? That's kind of what I'm talking about. Is it Metron, the angel of creation that was a human that ascended and now is one of the forces of creation, and that is that vibration? That's kind of what I'm talking about. Is it with Vishnu and the Indian pantheon with the Om that's vibrating throughout the universe that all yogis are striving for? Is that what I'm talking about? Yes, those are all valid ideas that I'm talking about. So because the way people think, they're thinking, some people thought it's a language, it's a frequency, they're communicating. Is it communication? Not really. As I was given the understanding, there's the like the vibrational chi, if you will, Kundalini chi, the Holy Spirit. There's like two types almost. There's one that's inside your body, and there's a type that's outside, your body. And then this is the vibrational frequency that's basically translating all that in between, if that helps. Again, I've bookfuls of information all up here, but I wanted to release this now. I thought it was the time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share. Anything you'd like to say, I try to respond back. And if you'd like to sign up for one of my classes, I'll do an individualized instruction. It's fine, and I think you'll dig it. Thanks a lot. Namaste. Om.